Okay, good morning everyone again. Thanks for joining our webinar this morning. It's our Q3 UK partner update. So I'm going to start off by taking us through our agenda and a quick speaker introduction before we dive into it. So the agenda for this morning, so I'm going to take us through one introductory slide in a second to introduce myself and my colleague. Then we're going to be taking you through the revised Brightpearl proposition and our new partner program. And then we'll be talking you through what's new at Brightpearl from a product point of view, covering off a partner view of the product roadmap for the rest of the year, and then a werewolf bit of a sneak peek here as opposed to a demonstration, and then we've got some time for Q&A at the end. So just as a bit of logistics, we're just running off of one machine at the moment, which whilst I'm in full screen, I don't have access to the GoToWebinar panel, but as questions come into your mind, please feel free to drop them into the panel as they go, just bearing in mind that I can't see them just yet, but we'll run off of that at the end of the call. So by means of introductions, so I'm Scott Hill. Looking at the attendee list, I've met many of you over the years. So I work in the product team at Brightpearl, so really the middleman in between our development efforts, so all of the different development teams that we have here at Brightpearl, and then the rest of the world, so our customers, partners such as yourselves, our marketing teams, our sales teams, and just about everyone really. So triaging everyone's thoughts into how Brightpearl should change, and then managing those through the development teams. And I'm joined this morning by Rob Beattie, who has been with us for quite a while within our UK sales team, but has now just moved over into being our UK partner manager. So we'll be overseeing all of the partner program and the relationships here in the UK. So I'm going to hand over to Rob for the first section, where we'll be talking our way through our revised Brightpearl proposition and partner program.
Great, thanks very much, Scott. Morning, everyone. Apologies, I'm full of cold, so yeah, apologies in advance for any sniffling or coughing. But just wanted to spend a few minutes, as Scott said, running through our revised Brightpearl proposition. I know there's both new and existing partners, so yeah, apologies if I'm going over old ground, but the aim is to bring you up to speed with where we're at today, where we're going, and then I'll just talk a little bit about our new partner program and what that looks like as well. So this is pretty much Brightpearl in its current state. For those who are new to Brightpearl, if you imagine the retailer sitting here at the centre of everything that we do, and Brightpearl then automates and integrates many of their back office systems and processes. So if you look at these red panels here, that's core to Brightpearl, and from one central hub, the retailer or wholesaler is able to manage all of their sales, purchasing, financials, customer data, supplier management, and accounting in one single system. We earlier this year launched our own pod solution, which Scott will talk about in a bit more detail later. So for those of you customers selling in traditional bricks and mortar stores, they can obviously use that, and we're also going to be launching our own WMS called Werewolf, which again Scott's going to talk through in a bit more detail. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at the moment. Automation is sort of key to the system at the moment, and we're moving towards a true omni-channel solution as well. And the retailer or wholesaler can really leverage their choice of technologies with the use of Brightpearl. I just wanted to put this slide in to I guess show you what a typical Brightpearl customer looks like, and it's evolved I think quite a lot over the last couple of years, and for those older partners, you will have seen this change a lot. But where we're at the moment, I would say it's rare for a business turning over less than $1 million to come onto the platform, although we do work with well-funded startups, but needs to be the right type of company. As I say, need to be well-funded, and they'll understand the need for a solution like Brightpearl in order for the business to scale. We don't manage the manufacturing process, so it's very much developed for businesses selling finished goods or products, and that's across a real broad range of verticals. Fashion and apparel is probably the most popular. A lot of furniture and homeware customers, sporting goods, etc. We do have customers that manufacture and manage that part of the process outside of Brightpearl, and then sort of bring it into the system from the point that they have a finished good. So that is possible. And then, yeah, most of our customers selling on multiple channels, so maybe multiple web stores, whether it be a Magento, a Shopify, or BigCommerce, your marketplaces such as Amazon and eBay, as I'd already mentioned, maybe traditional bricks and mortar stores, and we support both retail and wholesale businesses. So this is just to, I guess, show you some of the key efficiencies and cost benefits that we unlock. These figures have been taken from some software that we use to sort of actively monitor our customers' accounts, and also a survey that we completed. I think it was about 200 Brightpearl customers last year. We implement twice as fast, if not faster, than a lot of our certainly bigger competitors. For you, obviously, that means your customers are up and running quicker, and I think that helps with you. We're 100% retail and wholesale focused, unlike some of the bigger ERPs. Our customers on average grow by 30% year on year, which again is going to have a sort of direct impact on your business. Yeah, I'll send this slide over to you, or not the slide, but the presentation after, so you can always have a read through that later. I've put this slide in here just to show you sort of where we play, and it's something that we often get asked. So I thought it'd be good to show you. This isn't to say we don't have any competition, but it's just to illustrate where we sit in the market, and it's very much a mid-market tool. So Brightpearl's been designed to bring enterprise level functionality, but off the shelf, and therefore doesn't require the costly customizations or 6 to 12 month implementations that you might see with some of the bigger ERPs. What we tend to find is the retailers turning over sort of 1 million might operate on a variety of these systems, often an entry-level accounts package or a Sage, maybe an order management system, or often 3 or 4 different systems stitched together with some sort of custom-built middleware, which I think is fine, but it reaches a point where systems can't cope, or middleware starts to fail, and yeah, systems just start to creak. So yeah, we find ourselves, or a lot of our customers, moving from these sorts of systems onto Brightpearl, and equally, we come up against a lot of these bigger ERPs regularly as well. So hopefully that's giving you a good idea of where we sort of play. So just finally, before I hand over to Scott, just a bit about our new partner program and why we're making some changes. We've always worked with partners, and it's a really important sort of part of our business, but I don't think there's ever really been a truly sort of structured approach. So we've hired a new head of partnerships in the US, Derek, and as Scott mentioned, I've moved into 100% partner focused role here in the UK. So the ambition really is to create a really healthy partner ecosystem, ultimately to create a seamless customer journey for our end clients. We're going to be launching the new program. It's around mid-September. I think we're set for launch around the 18th. But just to give you a very high-level overview of what it's going to look like, we'll be working much closer and more proactively with our partners. We're in the process of redeveloping our partner page, which I'm sure some of you will be pleased to hear. I'll be getting in touch in due course to get the relevant information for that. There are a handful of you that we've obviously worked quite closely with in terms of events, co-content marketing, and we'll continue to do that. But for our sort of top tier partners, we want to make or take more of a strategic approach, and depending on how involved you want to be, that can work in a number of different ways, and we can discuss in more detail separately. But things like, for example, we've just launched a YouTube channel called Retail 90. We'd welcome partners to get involved in that. Check it out, and yeah, if you're interested, let us know. We're also going to be launching a Retail Academy, and I think there's going to be some good opportunities for partners to get involved in that as well, and then yeah, a range of events, whether it be breakfast seminars, dinners, meetups, whatever it may be. We're more than open to suggestion, and welcome opportunities to work with you on those. With there being a dedicated partner team, that means more support and also access for yourselves. So the plan is for you to have access to support and the Brightpearl community. And we're also going to be launching a revised commission structure in the next few weeks as well. So stay tuned for that. If there is anything here that you want to run through in more detail, just get in touch with me directly after the webinar, and we can discuss in more detail. But I'll hand over to Scott now, who's going to talk through some of our developments and where we're heading.
Thanks, Rob. So as per the agenda, first of all, we'll be taking a look at some new product updates, and then I'll move into the roadmap, and then some more focused discussions around the wearable program. So a couple of slides here, 3 in total, just taking us through our larger releases. So before I get into the details of these, of course, we've been updating Brightpearl along the way. So Brightpearl, the core platform, with a huge array of new features, new smaller features that haven't quite earned themselves a slide here, but focusing on the core areas of the system. So order management, the sales channels, and the accounting, of course. Landed costs has had a lot of love over the last couple of months. So yeah, the Brightpearl platform has just continued to evolve as per our regular routines. But here I'm going to be focusing on some of the larger releases that we've done this year that some of you may not be privy to yet. So the first one is automation. So specifically our workflow engine. So automation, it's kind of a hard thing to articulate, given that we already automate a lot of the accounting work and all of the data entry and everything like that. So this particular product update speaks specifically to a workflow engine. So we're a rule-based engine wherein within the Brightpearl account, you can create as many rules as you like. So within a rule, once you've given it a name, etc., you're able to set conditions. So the larger drop-down list that I've entered a screenshot here, choose condition, as you can hopefully see. This is almost like a menu of what are the multiple things that need to be true in order for this rule to kick in. So here you can set up whatever it is that the business deems appropriate for the rule, and then they select the actions that happen. So as all of that comes together, what a business is able to do is create a rule within their business that say, whenever an order is of this state, then automatically do this thing. So the most common examples that we see are around fulfillment or invoicing, etc., or tagging the customer to feed the MailChimp and the CRM. So again, a typical rule might be where the order is fully paid and where it's fully shipped, invoice the order, and also tag the customer. Perhaps if it's a certain channel or if it contains a certain product or a product category. We're also seeing lots of dropship automation here. Of course, dropship businesses just are eager for as much automation as possible. So again, as long as the delivery country is within one of their sort of safe to deliver countries, and the order status is of a certain value and the payment status is paid, then automatically dropship the order. So there's lots of things, and this is actually out of date already. We're just building more and more actions and conditions as we go, so the development team is very much alive. We've also built in a dashboard so that we're giving back to the customer. We're surfacing how much we're automating, both from a troubleshooting and sort of rule tweaking point of view, but primarily so that we're delivering, we're showing them exactly how many tasks we have automated. So then they can go ahead and they can review the rules, and perhaps they were just testing it in the first place, but now they're going to unload the rest of their workflow into automation because it's proven its point, and they've been able to save a large amount of time already, and now they can save even more. Something else that's brand new to those that may have seen some of this already, or at least be familiar with the concept, is the configurable schedule. So by this I mean the schedule in which each individual rule runs. So more often than not, the rule should just be run immediately. So as soon as an order comes in, check it and apply rules. But there are some use cases such as creating a purchase order that's for restocking, or perhaps creating a warehouse transfer, where it's not very cost effective to do that 1,000 times a day, and instead it should just happen as an end of day process, or an every X hours, or end of week, etc. So configurable schedules per rule. So it's quite hard to, automation being an invisible thing, it's quite hard to articulate exactly it is on a single slide, but yeah, it's highly configurable. It's going down really well with customers. We're delivering a lot of value, and able to automate the workflows and move people to manage the exceptions rather than the long list of orders. So the second slide that I'm going to take us through here is our iPad-based point of sale. As many of you know, Brightpearl has always had a point of sale, browser-based, perfectly fine for a lot of businesses, but it was always a little bit lacking with regards to some of the more expected features. So you know, better aesthetics for easier learning, offline support. Of course, being in a browser, we weren't delivering that beforehand. So quite a while back, we set off to build our own point of sale because there was no one in the market that we deemed worthy to integrate with. So again, to keep it quite focused, as you see in the screenshot there, that's a very typical screen. It just shows how clean it is, all the images, etc. Everything's coming from Brightpearl. So it's very easy to learn. You know, one of the customers, I think that we've even quoted on our website, you know, said that it literally took about 3 minutes to train a new person on exactly how to use it, and we've added things such as training modes and everything like that. So it's very, very easy to use. And broadly speaking as well, I'd say it's being used in physical stores about half of the time, and then the rest for events or for salespeople on the road, etc., that just want to have a mobile point of sale moving around with them. So some of the most commonly asked for features that we deliver, so the configuration per store, so everything is driven in Brightpearl, and you're able to configure pretty much everything per store. So you can have different branding, you can have different tax rules and overrides, particularly useful for our friends in the States. You can have different refund policies, you can have, you know, different rules, different reasons, different custom fields, etc. So highly configurable per store, which is really good for those using it on the road and in physical locations. Offline support, so it's installed on the iPad, so it's physically an app that you get from the App Store. So there are some features where you need to be online, pretty much anything where it needs to speak live to your Brightpearl account, such as a live inventory inquiry or looking up an existing customer balance. But the core of it, so order processing, capturing orders, creating customers, is fully supported offline, and then as soon as you're online, we'll talk back to Brightpearl again. Discount permissions is again something that goes down very well, incredibly well actually, seeing as I never get a discount when I'm shopping. So you can have varying levels of discount per person as opposed to per store. So each individual that you're setting up for that store has their unique maximum discount percentage, and then we've got different policies within the app itself to police someone trying to give more percentage than either they are personally allowed and they have to go and ask a manager, or that anyone in the store is allowed and then you simply cannot proceed. PayPal Here integration, so we've integrated with the PayPal Here devices that you can see on the screen here to integrate with card readers, basically, so to remove any mistakes there or any double entry of payments or order values, etc. So a really clean integration there, and Brightpearl customers can actually get preferential rates with PayPal Here, which is really good. Returns and exchanges, so nice smooth workflows here where we've simplified everything to all happen within the basket. You can capture reason codes, you can perform exchanges just by virtue of having an item coming back to you and leaving you at the same time. So really clean and easy to use within the point of sale, and then Brightpearl, on the way back to Brightpearl, we'll do all the hard thinking and split the basket out into any relevant sales credits and sales orders and marry them all up so that the information is correct in Brightpearl. Images, again, something that the old POS didn't have, but this one really nails. So all images come down from Brightpearl and look lovely on the iPad. And then UK and US tax. So that's really just a nod to the fact that it's very respective of where you are. As I mentioned, different tax rules that can be set per store, as well as it using everything that's on the product exceptions already. So yeah, fully supporting of UK and US tax rules and implications, just like Brightpearl is. And then e-commerce connectors. So we have effectively rebuilt our connectors with a brand new technology stack. So starting with Magento and then bringing it to the rest of the big ones here that we have, BigCommerce, Shopify, and of course Magento 2. So these really build upon the core operations that we have of bringing down orders with all of the features there and sending back inventory. So we've built on those and added lots of auxiliary features there that just make people's lives that much easier, that much simpler. But the main purpose of these are the technology benefits under the hood. So rather than just sort of juggling APIs and perhaps falling over, anywhere along the line, Brightpearl or otherwise, when someone is during their peak time. So flash sales we see more and more, where people will do bursts of tens of thousands of orders in a single night, etc. So our integrations are completely scalable, robust, and proven at those scales. So 10,000s of orders in a matter of hours, with no orders lost within the heavy API traffic. So yeah, a new architecture, as well as a bunch of new features that people have been asking for a long time, and these are all in the market now. So yeah, fully scalable, and it really leverages Brightpearl's power behind each of the individual web stores. And of course, very aware that I'm speaking to a lot of Magento partners here. Magento 2 is fully underway and working well. So now I'm going to speak a little bit to the rest of the year and the roadmap, giving you a bit of insight into what goes on with me and my teams here. So a couple of slides. So the first one here is recycling Rob's from earlier, but really just the points that I'm calling out here is that so 30% of our engineering department is still dedicated to the customer-driven enhancements. So by that I mean a lot of the smaller items or changes to Brightpearl, as opposed to building new apps or new platforms, etc. So so we earmark effectively a large portion of our development team who are that reactive. So they're driven directly by customer feedback, whether that be by speaking with customers directly, perhaps when we're on site visit and we just see something that would just make their day or make their life a little bit easier, or we've several forums where customers engage with us. So a few of them mentioned earlier, such as the community, etc. Our support team, of course, here the most, as well as we invite customers to speak with us about certain things. So if we've got a project to work on a certain area, then we'll also invite customers to say, whilst we're doing this, what else would you like to see? And that goes down really, really well and just speaks to how customer first we are as a business. Insights is something else that we're doing. So being able to report on and sort of view and speak back to the business, both at how they can run their business, but also at how Brightpearl is delivering for them, and then omni-channel journeys. So the next couple of slides, I'm going to go into these in some more detail, but the point of this is really just to say that we're carrying on with this core. We're not introducing anything wildly new or anything that's off-piste or anything like that. We're all just about consolidation and doing things better. So the roadmap, a little bit more broken down specifically for the rest of the year. So this is a snapshot from where we were a little while ago. Just speaking to the different sort of tiers and how that's broken down. So the customer first is the resource that I was just talking about there, where we've got people just dedicated to purely customer-driven requests. And then the larger teams break out. So accounting, so our focus has been and is still on integrating with Avalara, which is how we will be handling our US sales tax engine, which has always been on the list and is coming around really, really well now with Avalara's involvement. And then also some accounting focus, that same team, as they split off and break away from that project, are just adding in more features to the accounting side of Brightpearl that perhaps are usually seen or expected from those that are moving from specific packages such as Sage 50 or Xero or QuickBooks and haven't yet made their way into Brightpearl. So those are all happening throughout the year. Omnichannel was a huge focus, of course. So as I've said, all of the high volume capable connectors are complete, as well as the point of sale. So now those teams have moved into hardening. So there's always going to be a slew of smaller features being added to those. So for example, with the POS, we're heavily focused right now on the discounts and the promotions and also loyalty. But everything is driven around omni-channel. So the ability to surface a customer, surface an order in any of the sales channels, irrelevant of where the order was placed. So things such as click and collect, or order in store for delivery, just being able to refund from anywhere. So all of these workflows are just sort of making their way into the platform if they're not there already. So it's really just focusing on those and delivering huge value to our customers as they're able to be customer first themselves. And then we break down into the smaller sort of project teams where we've got payments. So payments has been a huge area of focus. Of course, we've now got amazing integrations with a lot of the key vendors. As I mentioned, PayPal here is for the point of sale, but for the back office and for our portal, we've Sage Pay, WorldPay, Authorize.net, Stripe, Braintree is just making its way in as well, and a few more to come. So those have been a focus, moving them again into omni-channel, so we can start passing the payment around between these channels, being able to refund and charge from anywhere with no customer interruption. So automation, as I mentioned, so as per the first slide, the conditions and the actions, those are just lists that will just continue to grow. So as customers want to automate more things, as they would like to police their orders by more conditions, those will just continue to make their way into the app. Werewolf, which I have a couple of more specific slides on in a second, which is our WMS, or our warehouse management solution, scale appropriate to the Brightpearl businesses. And then export and insight. So export is and insight, are all around data. So export is just more configurable exports from the system, so people can get exactly what they'd like out of Brightpearl. And insights, which is coming back into Brightpearl. So building a new layer on top of the data that Brightpearl is grabbing from and producing for a business, and being able to do far more things around reporting and delivering the value back to the customer. So in summary, it really delivers against our vision, which is my next slide. So our vision here, and again, one that we set out with at the start of the year, and now we've progressed as planned. So at the bottom, what we did in the first half of the year. So our automation engine, multi-channel, which was just to prepare each of the individual sales channel integrations and the point of sale. Product completeness, an area of focus around those customer-driven requests. The architecture for insights, so our reporting platform, and the customer data, because of course our reporting platform is only as good as the data we have beneath it. So all of those projects have come to an end now, and then moved over into this green section here in the middle of our growth on here. So the automate retail just speaks to automating more and more within our workflow engine. Omnichannel, so upgrading multi-channel to be omnichannel, so passing the orders, passing the payments around between the multiple sales channels, and accounting, of course, with sales tax and many other features. And then the USP to Brightpearl technology stuff, things that only we're able to do, is that we're putting in machine learning and natural language query for key KPIs. So by that I mean being able to surface things so customers can ask, what's my sell-through rate of this? How much profitability am I making over X? So they're able to sort of enter those things, and our foundation layer here is able to interpret those questions and analyze the data and report back to them. So the 36 retail KPIs that we've conjured up through customer queries and our expertise here. So those are all going to be making their way into this. So it's still a foundational step at the moment, building the architecture to receive those questions and surface that back to the customers. But of course, this is just huge, and this is great, something that Brightpearl will be able to deliver a lot of value on, whereas other softwares won't. And then scale is the next piece. So as soon as these things have come to the place where they are effectively effective enough for a customer to get some real benefit on, then the machine learning can then be optimized to the workflows. So rather than the automation tool just being a customer-driven thing, we are able to then suggest rules, or we're able to suggest enhancements to workflows based on everything. So Brightpearl is in a very unique position where we see the entire life cycle of a product or of an order or of a customer, because we have from inception all the way through to the accounting that will happen later on. So because of that, we're able to advise pretty heavily. So all of the technology that I've sort of have glossed over there within the second half growth is then going to be utilized for many things, and a lot of them to do with feeding back advice to the retailer or wholesaler, such as demand, or advise markdowns, or what would happen in this case. customer segmentation, again, to call out an easy example, setting down how they can judge their customers to perhaps manage them better. So the vision remains that. So real consolidations around Brightpearl itself and the key major updates that we've recently have had, sorry, and then our scale and our vision is really to harness the data that Brightpearl has and deliver value back to our merchants. So now to finish up on the product section, I'm just going to speak a little bit more specifically around the next major release that we will have, and many of you have sort of been along with me for the ride, over the last year with regards to this. So Werewolf. So Werewolf is our WMS solution. So Brightpearl has all of the features, within it for managing a fairly efficient warehouse workflow. So print, pick, pack, ship, being able to integrate all of the carriers, managing things in batches, etc. However, it's always had some form of ceiling, which differs from business model to business model. But whenever people are, they've got huge warehouse operations, they need to have multiple teams working at once. They need to be hardware aware, so moving around with touch screens or with scanners and things like that to really mitigate errors and to work faster, as well as other features as well, such as scanning in deliveries, scanning stock takes, etc. So with no one in the market for us to integrate with, no one appropriate, of course, we have built our own. So Werewolf is that. So it's our warehouse management tool. So to cover off exactly where it is at the moment, so with regards to what it has in release. So in general, it's browser again, because offline is something that 0 of the customers included in the group value, and again, it's not come up at all in any of the 100+ discussions and demos that I've done with customers here. So it's all in a browser, which means it's able to leverage everything that's easy to use, easy to just sort of get set up. It's all driven from Brightpearl. There's no duplication of effort, such as importing products and things like that. Everything comes down from the Brightpearl account. Everything is barcode driven, or touchscreen for those that don't want to adopt barcodes just yet in their warehouse, or perhaps it's not appropriate. And again, easy to use. So it's a permission-based system, so managers can do everything, and associates, of course, they have a bit of a cleaner screen where they're just able to push things around as per their job role. So stock taking, so putting in a formal stock take process. So you're able to conjure up and forecast in different counts. So whether that be by location, by product, or perhaps some more leading ways, such as what are my high value goods, what are my top sellers between a certain time frame, and go off and count those. So you're able to go off and do so. So really moving into managerial counts rather than just panic full stock takes at the end of the year. And then there's a full review process here if you're a manager, so you can judge what was counted against what was expected, look at the variances on both a numeric and a value level, and then accept or reject or both until you're happy, and then we will update Brightpearl. So just a full process here. It goes down really, really well. It's something that Brightpearl has been somewhat lacking for a very long time, and Werewolf really does tick that box. So the next sort of core module is goods out. So everything leaving the customer, basically, whether that be a shipment to a customer themselves, whether it be a transfer, whatever it may be. So adaptable workflows, so people can do everything in Werewolf, from fulfillment all the way through the warehouse, or perhaps fulfillment is going to happen in head office, aka Brightpearl, and Werewolf will pick it up later on. So very adaptable, again, building on that print, pick, pack, ship workflow, but just offering far more features and being advanced. So picking exceptions is a great thing. So picking exceptions, meaning that as my picker arrives at the location that has been suggested as per FIFO stock management, but it's not there, he doesn't have to scrap everything and start again. He'll be able to effectively override and pick from an alternative location without abandoning where he is. So Werewolf will tell him, based on proximity, where he should go instead. And then the key thing here, of course, is that Brightpearl is updated with the exact batch of stock that was used for this, so it doesn't override all of our accounting and anything like that, which is why, without good features, this can be a fireable offense in some businesses. So Werewolf introduces this in a fully accounting compliant manner, and is going down really, really well with our existing customers. And then assignment and batching. So again, just sort of some real scalability features here. So taking ownership for orders for work within the warehouse. So cooperating with as many teams or as many individuals that are working within the warehouse, assigning things to them, and batching as well. So batching, of course, just moving you, so you're moving around with 100 orders at once officially, as opposed to just by the paperwork. And then finally, goods in. So goods in is, of course, all of the reverse. So building on all of those goods out workflows, but you're receiving in stock instead. So receiving in stock against purchase orders, sales credits, and warehouse transfers. All of the stock taking style, scanning in things or entering things and reconciling that back to Brightpearl and handling the exceptions such as over deliveries or under deliveries. And then finally, distribution and put away. So again, just optimizing those workflows within a business, whether that be putting things back onto stock, cross-stocking to have a more efficient fulfillment crew, or distributing it out to different stores. So yeah, so that covers off the product section and also our core sort of features of the webinar today. So thank you very much for joining. We look forward to the next update. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.